Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Mad Buck Outdoors. I'm trying to start up a new segment here on the channel. Just to learn some stories about some big bucks. Like go and meet somebody, get a picture and get them with their big deer. Get them to tell the story. Send us down memory lane of the time that they took the shot. Without further ado, we're going to tell the story about my biggest buck. He's a mainframe 12. He's got a little kicker back there. Makes him a 13. I won a big buck contest. Not bragging or anything with him, but well, no, my papa, he tied with me. But so this guy, we had him on camera one time. Before gun season, I used to only really hunt gun season a lot, but we had him on camera in quite a few bucks that year. It was a really good year, but we was hunting for anything really that was big. And well, I was sitting in a tree stand that my uncle had put up, and I seen a deer out it that looked real big. Well, had a big face. I couldn't tell if it was a buck or a doe, really, because his tree limbs right in the way. Unless he would have kept on walking. And I guess he seen me or something, smelled me something. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, if I could see your head, if I knew you was a buck, I'd shoot you. But couldn't ever really tell, and he took off running. And I seen big old horns. And I thought, oh man. So I get out, go tell my grandpa that night, say, we got to move that stand tomorrow. So we get out there that morning, after the morning hunt, and go move that stand. So I feed a little corn in front of it, and it's about a week later. And, well, I see a bunch of does crossing the field and everything. Then I see a nice 8-point making a scrape on down. And the next day, the next morning, I'm sitting there. I sprayed some tinks on some little branches in front of me. They was hanging real low and on the grass. I'm sitting in that tree stand right as here. And I'm like, oh man, we might have some big buck coming through right underneath us. So I'm sitting there trying to look. Can't really see till about right there. And man, oh man, it's a little 7-point. I was so disappointed, I just wanted to just quit right then. But I was like, I can't. Gotta keep on hunting. So, next morning, well, that afternoon, nothing. The next morning, I'm out there. My buddy, well, 2 of my buddies went off somewhere else hunting. And they was just going to some random public land place, hoping to kill one. Well, I get a text. Well, I get a text saying, John, we've got a big one. And I was like, oh man, really? And they say they need help dragging it out. Why get on the radio with my grandpa and say, hey, I think I'm going to go ahead and head out. Which in that field, once it gets daylight, you're normally not going to see one. But I get on the radio and everything, say I'm gonna go help them drag that out. Well, about that time, I hear something running up beside it, or to the right of me, probably about 60 yards, give or take. So I'm looking over there, and well, just picture this. I'm sitting in that tree stand, and there is a log or a limb coming off that tree about that big around, just shooting up right there. So I'm sitting like this the whole time. Well, I see a doe pop out, and I'm like, oh man. Turn the radio off just so nobody else can hear. And then I hear real low grunt. I'm like, oh man, this is it. So I'm sitting there watching them. And then all of a sudden I see this crown, this beautiful crown, shining in the sunlight. And I'm like, oh God, it's going to happen today. So I'm sitting there, and I know that I cannot just turn that way and shoot. It's impossible for where that tree limb is. So I'm like, I'm going to have to wait till he gets in the soybean field. It's a little incline, so I can maybe be able to reach around that limb and shoot him. So I'm watching them. And then my grandpa, he hits the grunt after she trots up in the top of the field. And I guess that didn't sit right with him. He didn't like it because he starts trotting up on that field. And I'm like, oh man, this is it. I'm going to have to do it. And I reach around that limb and boom, lay him down. Which the year before, I'd shot one. And it laid down and then got back up, took off, never found him. Rough year that year. But, so I'm sitting on that limb, got it just piled on him. I get on the radio with my grandpa and say, oh man, I got him down. I got him. The big 12. So, we get out there. We're all celebrating. And that is the story of my biggest buck. I hope you guys like this. Hopefully I'll get my grandpa's biggest buck and a couple other people. So stay tuned for this and tell me if you guys like this little segment of Big Buck Stories.